Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Truth Investigations and Criminal Behavior. Welcome to the Command Desk. I'm Mike Blangiforti. Now, today we're going to be taking a deeper look into the Nancy Guthrie investigation. We're going to be looking at the fact that now it's more than 30 days since her disappearance and still no resolution in the case. Joining me tonight at the Command Desk is retired Detective Louis Balestrieri. Lou spent good amount of time in the NYPD doing investigations as a detective. And Louis, I really appreciate you joining me to discuss this case today.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I'm very honored.
And I just want I want the audience to know a little bit about you. I know you've been on other podcasts in the past, both entertainment and law enforcement. So maybe you could tell the audience a little bit about yourself before we dive in.
I came on to the NYPD in the early 80s. I'm from a family of 14 cops. I banged around real hard on the streets of Brooklyn. Never in a million years would I thought I would become a cop. The majority of my work was in narcotics as a detective, working both in an undercover investigative capacity, and I retired at the Organized Crime Investigation Division, working as an undercover, and I infiltrated organized crime for a short time, and I was a part of the largest organized crime case in the history of New York law enforcement, which I subsequently retired from.
And so we're going to talk about the Guthrie case because I really am interested in your perspective. This case has a nation baffled in terms of what happened that evening, who abducted this poor lady, and where she is now. So the first thing I want to ask you is, when you looked at this case when it first became public on February 1st, what stood out to you immediately from an investigative standpoint?
In any investigation, this is the way I have always approached it. There are three parts of any investigation. Number one is motive. Okay. Why would this lady be abducted? Number two is a weapon. Was there any weapons involved? Since they found a blood spot, that told me that there was an injury. Was a weapon used? And also, the last part of the investigation that I'd be looking at is witnesses. Somebody had to see something. And it's up to the detectives to be out there, to beat the bushes, to turn the rocks over, to get in with the people, reach out to their own personal informants, people they know. Somebody's going to talk, and you got to find that witness. Those are the three big pieces to the puzzle. That's how I would start out.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard you say in the past, and I agree with it 100%, is that somebody out there knows something, and that's the truth. So even today, 30-something days later, somebody knows something. The inception of the case, from the moment of the first responding officers and the investigative response, can definitely shape an entire investigation. So that morning when police were called after they realized that Nancy didn't show up at church, dropped off at around 9:30 the previous evening by her son-in-law. And then after the initial response, we see that this case wasn't a missing person and that it was clearly an abduction. So what decisions need to be made right away from the responding officers and that initial response?
Bring in the detectives. Immediately, you must preserve a crime scene. If you think there's a crime scene, you have to start it right then and there.
I would point out, rookies who sometimes, even though they learn this stuff in the academy, when they get to their first crime scene, they sure don't know everything. And so that's
Exactly.
how mistakes can be made.
You can't be walking all over the place. You contaminate the crime scene, and the case is ruined. You're losing critical pieces of evidence. And with today's technology, they could identify somebody by a strand of hair or a broken fingernail or what have you with this DNA. And, you got to keep that crime scene clean. So
Mhm.
just the proper investigators, the crime scene people, should be in there doing their thing, recording stuff. And start detectives should be out there scouring the area. Who saw what? Who knows what? Where what stores are around them? Maybe did the guy stop at the store? Talk to people. Well, look for cameras. Everybody's got cameras today.
I just now that we're on the crime scene, one of the things that drew an awful lot of attention in this case, which you're well aware of, was the decision by the sheriff to release the crime scene. Like within 24 hours, he released the scene. Now, from my experience and your experience as a detective, how critical was it for control of that crime scene in the early stages of a high profile investigation to be preserved?
Oh my God, that's the key point here. If you ruin the crime scene, you're throwing your case away. Okay, there's so much involved when you get to that crime scene. You have to look for anything and everything that makes sense that could possibly, were her shoes under the bed? This is a puzzle, and you're looking for the pieces to
Mhm.
put together.
Uh, you know, photograph everything.
Right.
Gonna look for obviously they're gonna look for fingerprints, blood evidence, hair, fibers. I mean, and in today's day and age, Louis, unlike when we were on the job, they could now pick up uh, skin cells that have trickled around, which is why it makes it even more important today that less people in there, the better. And I did an episode on this not too long ago, Louis, was this sheriff released that crime scene way too early. And he even admitted it in a press conference, saying something like, well, looking back in hindsight, maybe I shouldn't have released it. I agree with him. He shouldn't have, because the FBI came in a couple of days later, and now what happens to a crime scene when it was released, and then 2, 3 days later, it's opened again with a bunch of new people going in. Why don't you tell everybody what that means?
you know, Lots of times you miss something and you'll go back to your office and you say, what about this? Like, remember the Columbo guy? Here we go. You go back to that crime scene. The pieces of the puzzle are there. Okay. You have to go out there as a sharp detective and think about things. Set this up in your mind. All of these new questions are going to come about, and they're going to be satisfied by going back to that crime scene, by having a million people walk through that crime scene. I think they had neighbors after a while putting flowers down. That's horrendous. You can't do that.
I've um, gone back to crime scenes or directed, when I was a commander, directed detectives, do me a favor, go back there, go back into the kitchen and see if
Right.
there was something on that window there. Because, like you just said, you sometimes think of things after, like, wait a minute, maybe I missed this.
Yeah. In fact, you found out that the lady had taken medication. Does she have medication? Go back to her cabinet or whatever. See if the medications are there. So now you have an idea that she's got 5 days worth of medication, or this lady happened to be sick. These are all questions that have to be answered. If
Right.
this lady doesn't get her medication in a certain amount of time, she's going to die.
And I think also, case or with any other case, Louis, that when the detectives that are out in the field interviewing witnesses, looking at any other evidence, something may be said out there that again leads detectives back to the crime scene. And if it's already been released, then is that not a defense attorney's biggest dream? Defense attorneys could make a case. Well, the crime scene was released. This evidence wasn't collected until days later, but now that and until the crime scene was opened again.
What people don't understand is defense attorneys are there to muddy the waters. What defense attorneys will do is they have suppression hearings to see if any of this evidence was collected, grabbed, found illegally. There's so many aspects on preserving that crime scene. That's the most important. That's the heart. That's the bullseye of the target. And then as you get to learn more information, you expand that bullseye. Go down
Right.
the block, go around the corner. Maybe the guy behind heard something. Maybe, I don't know. What I know is, what I felt is they came there. There's a way in and there was a way out. Did they climb a fence? Was there footprints? Did they come with a car? Okay, if they did come with a car, which blocks could they have been driving down? Let's see if there's any cameras, at around that time, if there's any movement on those cameras. Let's see where the main thoroughfares are. Are there gas stations? Are there places where this guy could have stopped first to get a pack of cigarettes? You have to put all this into play, and these are questions that you gotta answer.
I would say sooner the better. Now, I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know the pace in which the detectives on this case were working. What we do know is the FBI wasn't brought in immediately, but the FBI is a great resource from a technical standpoint, no doubt, Louis, and what they have in
completely agree.
is what they have down in Quantico is state of the, and some of the experts that they have working for them in behavioral sciences and profiling stuff like that is also beyond reproach. And here we were in a small county in Arizona, Pima County Sheriff's Department. A small department picks up a case like this. You're the sheriff. I mean, are you asking the FBI in immediately? Or are you going to say, yeah, we got this?
Absolutely not. There's a lot of ego involved, especially as a chief. I don't know what this man's experience was, but he wants to, be at the top of the heap, especially on a high profile case like this. And initially, I may not have called other agencies in, of course. But
Uh,
once you get in the swamp and the alligators are chewing at your toes and you're going underwater, then you got to reach out there and you got to get help. Sometimes you just get the help. As far as the FBI is concerned, and you mentioned this point, they are phenomenal technicians. They have the machines, they have the know-how, they have everything that's possible to solve a case. We go to them for help, but what they are not, and they don't have the experience of being, they don't have the street savvy that
uh,
especially New York City cops have. I would have gone to the cop on patrol in that area. He should know everybody and everything. He should know every crack in the sidewalk.
I mean, in a small department like this, and you're talking over a vast expanse of land, far from the urban area that you and I were accustomed to working in, but there still are, patrol officers in cars driving around. And I would think that maybe in a smaller town, how everybody knows
Yes,
everybody.
yes.
And going back to your statement before about everybody knows something, it's certainly possible that it goes back to patrol.
Give out enough information to possibly stimulate someone's mind to think about, hey, I I went to the bathroom at 2 o'clock. I did see a red car going down the block. Okay.
And I know you saw recently they came out with that vehicle footage from ring cameras that were, I think, 2.5 miles from the original crime scene. We were just getting to it, almost 30 days in. We spoke before about, and I used to train my young detectives on rifle approach or sniper approach and what draws back to the shotgun approach. So, of course, you're going to start with the crime scene and the immediate area that's rifle. But once you see what you got, your crime scene's getting processed, you have to go shotgun. And how big
Correct.
is
Completely.
shotgun? It's a wide
Maybe that
area.
has to be.
It's a wide area. This was, and certainly what became a high profile abduction, given the celebrity status her of her daughter. You would think that the shotgun approach, that there would have been grid searches out, 2, 3 miles to get as much information as possible. What do you think?
You had to initially have detectives out there canvassing that area. Talk to as many people as you can. What I would try to do is put these people in the shoes of the victims here. We got a family here that lost their mom, but we're out here, we're doing our job, and maybe you can help us. I don't. You might have something. You might have seen something. You might have heard something. Was there dogs barking? Just something that you could help us with. And you keep going and you keep moving. Would you mind if I looked at your cameras?
We don't know. A lot of stuff could have been being done behind the scenes, but to get from one step to the next, to the next, to the next. What I do know is seeing the vehicle evidence come out weeks later, and that being something that they just discovered, you know, should it have been something that they were able to catch earlier? And again, I don't know. Because of the notoriety of the case, you would have wanted to go as far shotgun as you could to talk to every single person, especially those with a camera on their door, which everybody has these days. So we'll see where that vehicle evidence leads. But based on what was released, Louis, what do you think about the the, the time frame from crime scene to kind of where we are now, and what has been done, but also what might not have been done? Where are
There's
we?
okay. There's a show on. It's called The First 48.
Yeah.
The first 48 hours after a homicide. I'm not saying that this is a homicide. Is so important. Okay, you want to speak to as many people as you can. You want to
Uh-huh.
speak to people, okay, that could be a suspect here, and you want to get on top of them very quickly before they have enough time to think about and concocting a story. I would have had people keying in on that family and then go out a little further, talk to neighbors, and get as much information as you can to put this all together. It is my humble opinion that somebody within that family knows of something. I don't know yet. I have suspicions, but I don't, I can't put my finger on it. I'm
Right.
sure it'll all come out. The dirt will come out in the wash. But the longer it goes, the smarter this person is going to be hearing what's happening from the news, from this, from that, and they're going to kind of create their own scenario to create an alibi.
Right. Well,
And
I did a show also on the media response to this case, and as time went on, I called it Guthrie exhaustion, and that's not the best thing to have in a missing person. You want that face out there, certainly. But what the media was doing, to me, felt like too much. Was If you're the bad guy, you you also know every single move because the media is following it.
correct.
Louis, they had freaking drones in the air following units from one place to the next. That's not the best for investigations, having a camera in the air following you around. So much for the element of surprise.
Yeah, don't say nothing. But you can't give out, all your strategies and your techniques.
Mhm.
I have to put a big feather in your cap. You have covered this and every aspect of this case better than anybody, any of the news reporters, all of these other talking heads. You've done a great job on it. I have to tell you that. It's a big compliment to you. You covered a lot of the bases, a lot of the key investigative tools, and we still can't figure out what's going on.
And thank you for the compliment, first of all. But second of all, is behind everything that everybody's talking about, there's a family who's suffering. Their mother is on the news constantly. For me, Louis, the worst thing is misinformation. You have these armchair detectives with a microphone and podcast that are making assumptions, even naming people, saying this must be the guy. That creates conspiracy theories, and that's no good. It could ruin lives.
Completely agree.
And that's why the media attention that this case garnered was great in terms of having that person, having Nancy's face out every single day, keeping the attention on the case. But Louis, these networks were running with it like 24/7. It was it was in the A block of every media outlet for days, if not weeks on end. And I'm not sure that it was as effective as it was detrimental.
I'm in complete agreement. The last big case I saw like this was the OJ case.
Right? Right?
That was, that's all we lived and breathed was OJ, and if the glove don't fit, we must acquit, and all this other nonsense, and it created a lot of animosity among people themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm very, very baffled with the way this, all the twists and turns that has been taken here. In New York City, you may have 10 detectives working a case.
Right.
And then when you get in above your head, you call in other people. They must have several hundred detectives and FBI people doing this here.
They did. And it started out with a huge response. And then, as time goes by, Louis, you can't commit hundreds of people to a single case as
No, it's
time
impossible.
continues to go by because other things start to take priority. But while we're on this topic, I did want to talk to you about something also from an investigative standpoint, and that was the reward strategy in this case. Their strategy in this case, and it's accepted law enforcement strategy. I'm not saying that it's not, but the reward started at okay, and then a week later, it doubled to 100K from the FBI. A few days after that, private attorney from another state donated another $100,000, bringing it to 200 grand. But it wasn't until after 3 weeks into the case that the family put up the million, making the total reward now 1.2 million. And again, here's two different strategies: is starting off small and then gradually getting to the high number. And like I said, it's accepted. But I mean, clearly it didn't work in this case. Should it have started out at the 1 million and hope for that one solid lead right away and move on it? What are your thoughts?
Um, Money, as we all know, is a great motivator. I kind of, a guy will give up his mother for $1 million and then pay her legal fees too.
It's true.
You know how things work. We both worked in undercover capacities, and the way we got people to get close to us so we could buy them is
Hmm.
to show money,
Right.
because you rely on that greed factor, and then that's how we suck them in. They put
Right.
a little bit of bait on the hook, they threw it in the water, and they wanted to see what happened.
Yep.
Then they had to put a little bigger worm.
Hmm. Hmm.
Nothing happened.
Money motivates. And another good question, I wanted to talk to you about this, was every kidnapping, Louis, there's this thing called proof of life, and it
Yes.
never materialized in this case. There was nothing that they released. There was, and I got to believe, no proof of life, which is why no reward money, again, to our knowledge, was paid. It begs the question, why was no proof of life provided?
Why didn't they counter and put bait on their hook to try to get the police to go, give a recording of the lady saying, "I'm fine, they got me," or it was something.
Unfortunately,
I
she
I
may have
I think
she
she's
may
passed.
have
She wasn't killed. I think she's passed from natural causes, from not taking the medication or what have you.
uh, I have an 81-year-old mother, and Nancy was 84. I can't imagine. the amount of fear a woman of 84 who lived by herself, who's taken in the middle of the night, injured, and to somewhere that we don't even know. That fear factor alone, uh, and this woman had a pacemaker. I would have been frightened to death. I can't imagine how an 84-year-old woman would have felt, and I can't imagine the pain that the family must feel thinking about what I'm talking about right now, right?
It, it's horrible to be a victim. And my heart goes out to these people.
Yeah, for sure, for
These
sure.
these family are scarred. These people are scarred for the rest of their lives, no doubt. And
No,
I feel very bad for them. But I don't know. I just don't know.
I
I have a
just
lot
hope
of questions in my mind.
I just, I just hope that Nancy's located one way or another. I think we know, which, as every day goes by, the chances of survival are less and less and less. So, but with the reward strategy, where do you come down on that? I mean, because it could have gone either way. I might have said this is high profile. It's broadcast all over the nation now. Let's go high immediately. Let's see. And yeah, at a million, are there going to be maybe 100 times more leads coming in because of the monetary amount? Yeah, it's possible,
It's all
but
part of the game.
but you need one credible. At 50K, is that enough money to motivate somebody who's close to the bad guys to come forward, pick up the phone and say, I know where she is and I know who did it? Like, close personal relationship, a best friend, even a brother. How many times have you seen family give up each other? But 50K, 100K, it's not a lot in today's day and age to
You can't buy
motivate.
a car. You can't buy a car for 50 grand today.
It's not enough to motivate. Would $1 million from the get go motivated somebody to come forward immediately? I mean, we'll never know. And both strategies are acceptable from a law enforcement perspective. They went they went with what is probably the most traditionally accepted way to go for a kidnapping investigation. Start low and then scale up. In this case, maybe the other strategy may have worked, Louis, but we'll never know. But what do you think?
I would have, as what you said, I show me proof. Show me a little bit. Show me that this lady is still alive.
No proof of life, no money. Are you going to send $1 million to people that are just saying that they have your
Right.
mother? I don't
Show
know.
us something. They showed nothing. Okay, and then everything stopped. The ransom notes or the ransom connections or what have you, it stopped. I just don't know.
Yeah, it's still a mystery, but now we're at the over 30 days mark. And what we didn't talk about was that you saw the video with the masked guy on the Nest camera. And, we were talking about the FBI's technology. They were able to get the video that wasn't recorded by the victim through Google. So it just shows you the level that they operate at. They could get something that ordinarily wouldn't be that easy to get. But did you see that guy with the mask? He had the gun in the front of his waistband, a Walmart backpack. I don't know. He didn't look like a pro to me.
Not at all.
What did you
Not at
think?
all.
Yeah.
Not at all. I've been carrying a gun forever.
Hmm.
Okay. I never carried a gun in the front of my pants.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's
Good
that's
strategy.
just that tells me I don't know what kind of gun it was, but that had to be a small handgun.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. Who walks around with the gun sticking out? I don't know. It's not. It's mind boggling. I don't think this guy was a pro. I am leaning towards it might have been a burglary that went bad. the gun in the front? Why did he? What was in the knapsack? Why did he have the knapsack? What was he looking to steal? Small items, cash? What did he know about? Was there money in the house? Did she have a safe?
Well,
Did he have tools in that bag? I don't know. There's just so many questions that
there's
I'd
two
have to
things.
go through and be answered.
Was it, and this would show what the case is, but was it burglar's tools? Um,
Exactly.
or or was it like zip ties and things that would indicate a deliberate abduction?
Correct.
Again, we don't know if it was.
How did he get in the house? How did he break in? Did he break a window?
They have from the get go refused to say if there was forced entry or not.
Yeah, there you go. But I mean,
Mm,
if he had the tools there, then there's gonna be marks on the door where
some
he pried the lock.
Yeah, something, but it was never released whether it was forced entry or not.
If there was no forced entry, maybe he had the keys. If he had the keys, who who do they know that may have had those keys? It's
You
another
know,
twist.
yeah, and again, it's speculation, but there's a lot of theories on the case, but nothing that's known. I found it interesting that it looked like he was caught off guard by there's a video camera here. He goes back, he gets like flowers or something from the front of the house, brings them back to cover the camera before he starts to take it off the wall. You would think that somebody who knew what they were doing would have known that that thing was there and would have had preparations to make sure to either disable it or disarm it or make it useless.
Just
Right.
spray a little, put spray paint on it. It's done.
And that's what's curious to me, Louis. You have this guy, he goes up, doesn't realize that there's a camera there, and it's kind of like an oh shit, I better get this covered. Goes and gets like these flowers or something from the garden, puts them over. Well, that's not working. Let me try to screw it off.
He came in one way and he left maybe the same way, maybe a different way. You
Mhm.
had to look for a direction of flight. Was there footprints? Was there tire marks? A car in the garage to eliminate that?
Mhm.
I just don't know. I didn't see the entire house. I don't know what the layout of the house is. Did the guy come from behind the house? Did he come from the front of He had to come and he had to leave. And I would have been concentrating on that as a big fact. Well, he went down, he made a right-hand turn because you could see the footprints on the lawn.
Stuff that hasn't come to public attention. One
You
of the
don't
fir-
know if he did it or not.
one of the first things I thought was, okay, well, I haven't spoken about a car at all, or tire marks at all. And then when you look at where the blood was, and the blood looks like it was droplets, so it couldn't have come from a high point. Otherwise, there would have been a tail off the blood
Correct?
drop or something. This looks like it was coming dripping, but from a low height, not way up. So you could say, was she loaded to the ground? Were they carrying? Was he? We don't know if it's multiple people. Was she loaded into the trunk of a car? None of this was released.
But
The important thing was it came back to Nancy Guthrie, so
right,
we
right.
know
It's hers.
her
It's hers.
blood. But I always found it interesting that they never spoke about a car or tire marks. They never spoke about shoe wear or boot marks or shoe marks or anything like that, footprints in and around the property.
One of the problems with the footprints is there must have been 10,000 other footprints there with the amount of people. That's all goes according to preserving the crime scene, which we know the crime scene was severely, severely blown apart.
I need to ask you this because I want to get your take on it. Is based on what we know right now, we don't know where she is. We don't know who did it. Despite everything that's been presented, the, the public wants to see results. But what do you think investigators are likely focused on right now? What are they doing?
I first of all, I think they're scratching their heads because that's what I'm doing. I dropped this a couple of weeks ago because I just got disgusted with what was going on. Everybody was an expert and everybody had threw their 2 cents in the pot, but nobody was there.
Mhm.
Okay, I think they are back at their office or what have you. They may have to go back and have a big meeting and put this. Everybody's getting pieces to this puzzle. You got to put this puzzle together. It's one of the toughest things that you can do. But sometimes the answer is right there under your nose and you don't see it. And one of the cases that I recall that was solved by something so simple was the Son of Sam. They found that guy
It's a
based
parking
on a parking ticket. There's more questions, and when these questions arise, you got to go out and you got to hunt this down. Anytime a door opens, you have to walk through it.
well,
Anytime you get a number, you got to investigate it.
the latest evidence was that vehicle videos with it's the middle of the night and all these cars would drive him by in a residential area that's not usually highly trafficked during the
There
day,
you
let
go.
alone in the middle of the night. So I know they were looking at video evidence of moving vehicles.
That would have been one of the first things I did.
And again, I don't know why they didn't hit that camera's 2.5 miles out at the beginning of the investigation. Maybe it was not within the grid that they were searching in for witness canvases and video canvases, but they got it now, and we don't know anything about what happened with that vehicle footage. They haven't released it, so we don't know. Now, the sheriff, and I think this was just last week, Louis, said that we're closer than we've ever been. Why would you make a statement like that?
Covering his ass, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to play Monday morning quarterback, but it's still under investigation. We're working hard. We're trying to get a positive result out of this.
I,
You
and
leave
I
it at that.
and I think what you just said is the statement. What you just said, but to tell the public we're getting closer, if you're not, it creates quite the sense of false hope for the family and for the people in the public.
Uh,
And plus,
I can tell you this.
it's a very vague and broad statement. We're coming close. What close? Like days? You're going to have this solved? Weeks? Months? What are you talking about? So it's confusing. That's all I'm saying.
He's he better retire after this case is done and over with because he's not too many people are in agreement, but by what he's done. He did a lot of things that, by my standards and your standards as well, are very unprofessional.
Look, Louis, there could be a whole episode on the sheriff, his decisions, and how it affected the case. We don't have time for that. I've said what I've had to say, as have
Mhm.
many people out in the media about his approach, his press conference, statements he's made in public, and they speak for themselves, really. Everybody's heard of the expression, put a fresh set of eyes on something. And I don't think in this case it hurts to have people put a fresh set of eyes. So whether that's re-interviewing witnesses, did I miss something? A facial expression? Did I miss a statement? Did I ask all the right questions? Maybe revisit the digital evidence, a timeline reconstruction, further forensic analysis. I bring you in as the fresh set of eyes. Where do you want to start?
I go back to square one, okay? And I'd ask myself, who is the beneficiary of this lady disappearing? Okay? Is it a Mexican cartel? Is it, I don't know, the guy, the local burglar who works in the car wash down the corner? Is it a member of the family?
In cases like this, what role, if any, Louis, can the public play right now in helping investigators? What's the role of the public right now?
Uh, Give these investigators the benefit of the doubt. Uh, if you know something, say something. If there is something that was triggered in your mind by something that, yeah, well, I went to the bathroom at 2 o'clock in the morning and I live down the block. Yeah, there was a red car that was moving, and, that's the help that the general public can do, not, you know, giving their opinions on things they have no idea about.
I think that the general public sometimes doesn't realize that the smallest bit of information that's in their heads or something that they witnessed, they will dismiss it as, well, that's not going to be helpful. But
Right.
to a trained detective, it could break a case.
That's the dot on the I that makes the word. You know what I mean?
And that's why it's like, no, everything's important. Even if you think it's not important, say it anyway. What information is most helpful? Everything. Everything. I always used to call in other detectives, other people to put a fresh set of eyes on something. And I think that's probably what this case needs right now, a fresh set of eyes. Somebody who's going to start from the very beginning again and start working the case all over again. In addition to anything new that hasn't been reported, but that they're doing and that they're going down that road, that's terrific. And if that road is what they believe should be the focus, then so be it. But I would be starting at the very beginning again. I'd be re-interviewing, recanvassing, looking at digital evidence, looking at the forensics again, and any crime scene photos, evidence, everything, that video of the perp, everything. That's what
It's there. We just haven't seen it.
somebody knows something.
Right. Somebody knows something. Going back to square one, there was no shell casings. We don't have a bloody knife or what have you. Okay.
There's no indication that a weapon was used. No,
Correct.
no, it
Okay.
don't know it as a fact, but we have no
Motive.
indication that a weapon
Motive.
was. Yeah,
I'm going to key in on motive and witnesses. Motive. Why is this lady, why was she snapped up? Why was the house burglarized? Why? How many burglaries have been done in that area? Let's look at the reports. Let's look at a description of somebody that may have been seen. Okay, because it might be the same burglar coming back again.
mhm.
This thing gets wider and wider and wider and wider. That, somebody should be working on the outside, and I would be keying in on some of the family members. I'm not going to say who, how, when, and where. Who are their friends? You ever hang out with them? What do you think about this? You ever hang out with her? Did she? You know what? If this person ever had an argument with their mother, or whatever.
But
Just
it's
ask
not
my question.
that everything that you're saying has also been done, but that we just don't know about.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe you have to, like you said, go back and like that Columbo. Columbo was my hero. There's something that bothers me.
Doesn't seem right. Yeah, something
You know,
doesn't seem right.
and you go back again and you play that game and you
But
see if the response is the same the first time as the second time.
but in the mind of a detective, the gut feelings in the mind of a detective have a little bit more weight than the armchair detectives with a microphone talking in public. We look at things through a different lens. But I'm happy, and I really appreciate you taking the time to share your professional experience, your analysis here on the command desk. Um,
I love it.
Definitely going to have you back. I'd love to. I'm sure my audience has a lot of questions, but maybe at some point down the line, we'll do a live stream, take questions.
An absolute pleasure. Let me just clarify who you are to me. We've known each other since the early 90s. We have spent time together as martial artists training in California, Benny the Jets,
Hmm.
Jet Center, which is a very, very prominent individual. We also went to Billy Blanks' school and fought and trained there. That's the brotherhood and the camaraderie we have. And I think you're doing a phenomenal job here. And I like to continue to help if I can in any way.
Thanks so much, Louis. I mean, and just to the audience, investigations like this are complex. And obviously, we'll continue to follow developments in the Guthrie investigation and provide analysis as new information becomes available. And I just want to give Louis the opportunity to plug. He's also an author and a big shot movie star too.
Uh,
What is, um,
I'm in the process. I worked, as I said before, the largest organized crime case in the history of New York law enforcement. The name of that case was Operation Wasteland. Myself and my team conquered and destroyed organized crime's control over the private sanitation industry back in the 90s, where the FBI tried to get into them and other police agencies tried. We did it. A team of New York City detectives did it. Sadly, 6 out of the 10 guys that were in my team have now passed on. And this, we never got the accolades that we deserved in doing this case. We made history. And my partner and I have decided to bring this forward. We're in the process now of working with some big studios. We've gone through a phase where we've done one scene, which is being edited now. It takes a long time to do.
sure.
And hopefully it'll be out there. And, I'm going to
What's
be
the name of it?
Operation Wasteland.
Just like the
Okay.
name of the case.
It'll be
Again, Louis, I appreciate everything. Folks, this is Louis Balestrieri, retired NYPD detective, and I was thrilled to have him on my show this evening, and we'll have you back, Louis. I'm Mike Blangiforti, and this has been the Command Desk. Remember, facts over speculation. Have a good evening, everybody.